Hello, that's TikTok. Posting on TikTok that I am live on YouTube. Um, um, IG. No, I haven't really posted when I will be going live. I just been going live. Am I live on YouTube and IG yet? No. So we are live on IG now. How have you all been? Hopefully your week has been excellent. I don't know how long I will be on tonight. I didn't have a lot of topics. Last week I didn't have a lot of topics either. I don't even know. Kind of forgot why I was even inspired to jump on here last week, but I made it right. So I have got a lot of good feedback that a lot of people are excited that I have been streaming again and we're back on. So trying to get that down to a regular schedule is going to be probably during more of the weekdays. Um, I've just had some family incidents where actually I don't know if I will be on live next week. I just had a something that happened in my family. What's going on? How are you doing? The G Shop. I don't even think that's what I think I know who that is, but I'm not sure. Let me see. I haven't actually been on Clubhouse in a minute either, but I've been popping in some rooms in Clubhouse, so it's been good energy in Clubhouse. But honestly, I don't really like Clubhouse. I'm gonna be honest. It's a lot of um, the conversations. I guess I already have ADHD, so Clubhouse is a lot for me, and that's self-diagnosed. I just made a post on my Instagram about the houses and the how do you read the houses and the importance of each particular house. So check out my Instagram. Check out the stories on my Instagram because I go into. Oh, Lewis, what's going on, Lewis? Check out my Instagram, and I kind of talk about the um, placements, the housing placements in comparison to the Vedic astrology. Um, well, actually, I didn't. I talked about it maybe a little bit before that, but how Vedic astrology uses the karma of your houses, and the houses are going to actually match up and be the same. There's going to be a difference in the sign placement within astrology between the interpretations. So that's going to be the biggest difference between Vedic and the tropical astrology, and I go into each placement for myself, which I look at. I love Vedic. What's going on? I'm Naya. I actually love looking at Vedic astrology because I feel like they give a little bit more in depth as far as the karma that will kind of happen, the karma that takes place whenever you're looking at the housing sign. Um, Vedic astrology was one of the first forms of astrology where I seen someone talk about the exact time, not the exact time, but the place and setting of where you will meet your soulmate based upon your planetary placement and your housing. So that just stuck out for me. And then also the Vedic signs as far as the Nasastras. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right. is the story behind it is what captures me. The stories behind the Vedic signs is so on point, down to just for myself. um, I don't want to butcher the words because I haven't really listened to pronunciation as much as I used to, but I am Negroshka. I don't know if that's how you say it right, but it's the one with the deer. But one of the details with the Vedic was that particular signs have a habitual type of stance on life, down to even the way that they eat. Like I can literally eat probably the same thing almost every single day. I'm like 1 degree into the Gemini, which is for that particular sign. The which I will just call it a deacon for those who don't know, but it's Nasashka. But I am just 1 degree into it. But I am a habitual eater. I will eat the same thing all the time. I can eat the same day for 4 to 5 days a week, and it doesn't bother me. And that was more, and I've never heard that coming from the tropical astrology. I never had anyone kind of break it down to that. And the stories behind the Vedic astrology is so on point. It's kind of like your like the, what can I say? Kind of like the is that the Roman astrology? How they would have stories about each character, and it kind of gives me that same type of feeling where you can look at the character each one, and it just goes into detail. Like I said, I haven't looked at it all the way, but it gives me the same type of feeling as like your Greek gods and just Roman astrology, and the details as far as and into the story Hellenistic astrology. So that is what I get from it, and I feel like it's important to look at the Vedic astrology just for yourself. Just for me, it even details like the possession of my cars, how many cars I'm gonna have, my karma between my dad and me having children. Like, even talks about I may not want to have children, but I will still probably be around a lot of kids in the kids setting. And if you don't know, now you know I have son in the fifth house. So that talks about education, children. Maybe giving back and teaching and all those particular concepts. So that was kind of really interesting for me, and I think that'll be interesting for yourself. I do have an app that I can reference you to also. Tonight we're going to get into some particular placements of, we talk about popular news here. That is one of the things outside of just doing personal readings, is we're going to talk about some popular news. And the popular news that I'm going to kind of speak about, just out in the culture. And if there's anybody else you want me to look at, like Justin Bieber or anybody else, but Sammy, who is a singer who I grew up listening to, who is a very good singer. He is a nine of spades, and he started talking about death. And I think a few times I've talked about challenging people with going back and into looking at the nine of spades, and the clue that it's a very famous rock guitarist and rock star that I speak about. And the nine of spades is one of the most misunderstood cards I think there is. Nines is always completion, graduation, so that they have a lot of depth to them. Spades are always talking about their spiritual side. I think they kind of like the last phase of life. If you was looking at the cards from a reincarnation standpoint, the hearts are considered the youngest. I wouldn't say this is their first time on Earth, but they kind of come in with the young naive type of soul and really are passionate. But the spades are the mature cards, more the mature and cards that have the most depth and that came to experience life for what it is, between wealth, between the intellectual side and getting a great understanding of death, getting a great understanding of purpose, right? So the spades kind of have a heavy burden when it comes to the cards. And you can also see that in the spiritual spread as well. Let me show the spiritual spread, because that's how you kind of want to look at it. Let me go back. Where's loading? Share this tab. Usually it says share this tab. And there may be some other times when I come on here, I will probably plan on reading from the actual books and kind of doing like a cardology for cardology breakdown and simple evaluation of the books. That's what I do in my classes. I go in depth as far as what we see in real life in your personal spread and how the books are so on point. And I do understand, and actually I was thinking about this today, is that wisdom comes from experience. It's hard to understand the cards. It's hard to understand these things without the experience. Either it is your personal experience or the experiences from other people. So without that experience, just reading something verbatim, unless you're a genius and you can read something and tell me what page 53 said after your first read, you really have to experience these cards and to understand them fully, right? And that is the life of the space. So they came to understand and actually understand on a soul level, on a purposeful level. So here, Mercury is, you see, they are the first ones out the gate in this Mercury line, okay? Of course, you have the sun there. We look at those more of the complexities of kind of like a higher power, higher understanding. I think I said this last week. I even called the King of Spades the God card. That is the card that I look at when it comes to mastery. Those are the mastery cards. And of course, you have your Jester, your Queen, and the Master, the King of Spades of perfection. So with the King of Spades, you get science, you get spiritual understanding, you get preachers. So that's why, like I said, I don't know if I said this last week, but I say now, but whenever you see a 10 of clubs, an 8 of diamonds, 7 of, even these supportive cards, even look at those in the same sense, 7 of clubs, 10 of diamonds, king of spades. Those are the scientists, the doctors, the authors, the teachers, okay, masters of information, masters of disseminating information comes from that particular line. Those are the people who have came here and is looking down upon all of us. They have that particular gift of informing us, okay, and that is their gift. Instagram is, I don't think it is. Okay, I don't like Instagram. I don't know if it's sharing that on Instagram, but that is the power of those particular cards, even down to the 7 of clubs, my rival. And I say that because I have business with the 7 of clubs. It's my vertical card, but I'll talk about that later. But these particular cards are your masters. They are in the sun, right? And I don't know if you all look back. I told you to go back and look up Vulcan. We'll do that together here. But the hearts, they're the first ones out the gate. This is where we call our spring. This is the spring. So those are the first week 1 through 13, those cards. That is how we talk about our weeklies. I know there's a lot of confusion a lot of times about how the weeklies and what week we're on. Week 1 is an ace of hearts. Okay, that's how we break down the weeklies. So there's 52 weeks within a year. So week 1 is the hearts. Then week 2, you're going into the spring, summer. You're going to the summer. These are the clubs. Okay. So that's when information comes. That is the teenagers. We would get those as the teenagers of the cards. So you have the kids, the children coming fresh out, and then you have the clubs. They are more have that teenager type of attitude, that curiosity of trying to learn, trying to understand, trying to break things down in life. So they all, and these are traits that we look at these cards going through life. The hearts are more emotional, that the children, they want to come, play, have fun. Mercury, as even in astrology, is kind of like the young soldier in training, taking orders, trying to understand, more playful. You have to tell it to become discipline themselves, even though within the air deacon and Gemini deacon, you have the Saturn as a deacon within that card. That doesn't mean they're the most disciplined. That actually means that they need to work on being more disciplined with their nature. And a lot of times, some of them may have a smoother job depending on who may mentor them as well. So your mentors and who's around you is very important. But here you have the hearts here to express themselves, maybe orally through poetry, art. That is where you get these particular cards. So through that form of art, expression, love, they transform into clubs. Okay, so here's where they start to express yourself, starting to grow. The teenagers start to become more curious, start to talk, maybe talk back. Can be, like I said, I talked about it last week with Remy Mom being a 2 of clubs, can be pretty debative. And look at where she sits in the spiritual spread. Mars, Mercury. Okay, so that's why I said I would hate to get in a debate with her. That is not a card that you want to attack. And make sure, and if those who don't know, this right-hand side is highlighting everything, but this right-hand side is your planetary. This is Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Okay, the same thing here. And next week, I probably will go into how I found out how these relate to astrology and conjunctions. I may not do that tonight. But here, like I said, 2 of clubs and Mars, Mercury, that is the debater. The base of these cards, a lot of their interpretations are you have to look at both sides. You have to understand the spiritual spread, and then also you have to understand the life spread, which we call the spread of chaos after you're born, right? Life after, I was going to say life after death, but where we're born here on Earth is what we call chaos. So then you have the many adults. Okay, the adults is the diamonds, but even though they call these cards the adults, they also live in Saturn, which makes it pretty hard. That is where the work, that is where the grind is put in, right? That is where the experience, the fruits of your labor starts to happen. That is why these are the diamonds, right? Because after you've learned, after you've gathered wisdom, now you start to reap the rewards behind that wisdom. But that comes with Saturn, that comes with discipline. And a lot of diamonds, a lot of people, not just diamonds, just, I'm going to say diamonds, but a lot of them don't have discipline sometimes, and that is the biggest hurdle is that discipline, putting it and making sure that you're on time, doing your work, so that is where the struggle comes for the diamonds. And a lot of times they're hard-headed. They think they know, they think they graduated from the clubs, and they come here and they just think they know how to do things. But it takes a lot of discipline. And this is also where, outside of the education, mentorship, because you've learned it, you read it in a book, but even after you graduated, you still have to go under someone. You still need training on life itself. So that's where a lot of discipline come in. And then, like I said, the adults, and then you have your elders, okay? The spades, the winter, the grind, so that is the order of the cards and how they manifest and the experiential levels of these particular cards. So you have the spades. This is where they go from Uranus, okay? And Uranus is highly spiritual for those who don't know. That is your how you look out into society after the grind and the work that is really reaping your rewards, and it's the transformation of the spades, and you become what you've been training to. You become what you. How can I say this? You become what you've been training to do, I guess, if that makes sense. Like you really become it, and you're not just speaking about it, and that experience is gained through the spades. Okay, so this is where jobs, careers, these people have a more they have an easier understanding of their purpose, I think. When I look at the spades, they know who they are. They have a little bit more confidence in what they want to do, and their desires are a lot more is I think is locked in a lot of times that can be seen from an early age. I'm not saying all of them are perfect. I'm not saying that all of them have that, but sometimes it's just the action of doing it and willpower, because they deep down inside they may know, right? And that's with all the cards. We all, like, even the hearts, there a lot of times you can have artists, you can have people, performers, but they have confidence issues, emotional issues, right? So every card has issues. The clubs, they also have confidence issues upon their intellect, needing outside approval. Today is a nine of clubs, right? It's today nine of clubs. Like the nine of clubs is the best example of needing outside approval, needing a cheerleader beside them to let them know, like, you really know what you're talking about. You really know what you're doing, So they need that confidence builders, even though they can be in the art. They need an audience in front of them sometimes, right? Like the four of clubs, they are meant to profit from their information. They are meant to gather people around, but they still need support. They still need people behind them, right? They need the systems as well. They need the information in order to do what they need to do. So, like I said, the diamonds are here to work, but that discipline for them is very important. You know, so all of the cards have faults, and that's the beauty of the cards. Is I was on Cosmophysics, Rod Koo's page earlier, right? And that is the realest dude you will find within in this world, between in the good and the bad of actually doing this work. Is he's going to give it to you raw, and that's why I rock with him, good or bad, and he doesn't care what you say. He's a Scorpio, and he's actually at Five of Hearts as well. So you would look at him as young, but he has a lot of wisdom. But what pushes that wisdom is his passion, his mental curiosity, his I was just telling my student today, fives, when you think of fives, what you think about gosh, what was I saying? Restlessness, yeah. His restless nature, his hunger for information, with that Five of Hearts. That is what he drives off of, and you can really see that. But he spoke to how him as an astrologer, I look at astrology just like doctors. Like he profits off of people's pain, off of their misunderstanding, wanted to gain more information, right? And that's real. You can't even, and him saying that, and I just said the four clubs profits off of information. That's what they're meant to do, right? And that's what he said, right? But look where the Five of Hearts on the spiritual spread, look where it transforms into. Transforms into the Four of Clubs. Make sure 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yep. Transforms into the Four of Clubs. So he's on point. Like he profits off of the information that he gives, leading the classroom. And actually the Four of Clubs is Nostradamus card as well. So when you're looking at the five of hearts, and they know how to disseminate information, they know how to gather, and they know how to build systems, right, on the spiritual level. So that's why looking at that spiritual spread, you're gaining a lot of understanding from the cards as well. So you have to make sure you know and understand both sides, and if you can read somebody from a spiritual spread just as easy you can read somebody from the life spread. If you really know what you're doing. Um, so let me go back. So the what I was speaking about. So one of the people that I was going to look at today um, is we're going to talk about their weekly spread. But let me check the comments, see what y'all have going on. I don't think no one's on Instagram, but I'm going to say what's up, hello, ask questions. Is the two of diamonds that hard to deal with on Clubhouse? I love Kylie too. Yeah, maybe for me. I don't. Yeah, two of diamonds is a hard one. You got to think about the two of diamonds have a jack of spades and Mercury. For me. It's just a lot. It's just a lot, and it's Saturn Mars. It's a tough platform. It's a tough platform. That Jack of Spades, I think, is really for me personally. It's the Jack of Spades and Mercury. Like you never know who you're talking to. Like people can be whoever they want to be on Clubhouse, and I think that gets me. I don't like that aspect of it. That people can just be whoever they want to be. Yeah, that kind of gets me. She said, "Hey cousin, what's going on?" To create you a nice backdrop that won't let your head seem deep. It does look deflated, right? Hello, Marika, and it's moon to the three of diamonds. Yeah, in the spiritual spread. Yeah, that's my little brother's card. I was talking about that last week, I think, about looking at your family members from the spiritual spread as well. You'll see a lot of connections between your family. And the two of diamonds is definitely my little brother. So I definitely know we're supposed to be doing some work, but yeah, that's probably why it gets me so emotionally bothered too. It's just pushing my buttons. But I pop in, I pop out, say what I gotta say, listen to what I want to listen to, and then I'm gone. But I think through the chaos spread, the two of diamonds, it's that Jack of Spades, and it's the wheeler and dealer. So I just don't trust everything and trust everybody on there it just doesn't give me a good vibe, to be honest. But like I said, tonight I don't know how long I'm gonna be on, depending on y'all and y'all questions. But someone that I wanted to look at, and I kind of mentioned on my stories earlier, was Romell Broom. Let me see if I bring up my other Instagram so you can see the actual post. We'll look at it together. And actually, I want to look at my spread this week also. Well, I may not be able to look at it because I'm live. Let me see. No, it's not going to let me see my story, but I'll go ahead and tell you. So Romell Broom was actually on death row. That's the story of Romell Broom. And they were trying to, they did multiple injections on double plan. They did multiple injections on him, and he did not, and it wasn't successful. And it just wasn't successful. And I made a statement on about the reason I look at astrology and look at the cards is because of how perfect the timing is. I think for spirituality, and a lot of people have a issue with cardology and astrology because they think that we're trying to play God sometimes, or we're trying to prophesize, or we're trying to, seek divination or magic work. But for me, it's simply a clock. I don't look at it any more than a actual clock and understanding time. I always said that I don't think God would be such. I don't think God will send you down here without a roadmap. From an early childhood, I have an ace of spades and Mercury as a third diamonds. So that is the neophyte. That is the person that is curious about the meaning of life. That's what I was talking about earlier, right? The purpose of things. And the ace of spades is also the card of death between the ace of spades and the nine of spades. Those are the cards of death. And for me, the cardology and astrology gives me understanding. It's more than just trying to seek to be like God or what other people misinterpretations of what astrology is and what our purpose is and what we do here. It's a little bit more than that for me. For me, it's my clock. It's the reason. It's the tool that God gave me to understand what's going on in life. And if you look at my astrology, I have Scorpio in the 10th with Lilith. So for me, it answers a lot of questions about life and death and the darkness of life as well. And I'm able to understand society as a whole through it. And also I have Saturn in the 12th, in Capricorn. So I understand or being able, and Uranus. So trying to understand and seek deeper knowledge and wisdom about, what this world is made of, what makes us tick. So the first person we're going to look at is Romell Broom, okay, and his life spread and for those who don't know, I will go ahead and tell you the way that you look up a person's weekly outside of I probably went through this last week outside of the software is first you got to get how many days somebody was alive. Okay, so I already got that number. Let me see if I can look at the history and bring it. Yeah. So he was alive for 3,369 days. Okay. What was that? No, I'm sorry. 23,583 days. So what you do from there is you divide that by 7. Okay. So when you divide that by 7, you're going to get 3,369. And then you're going to divide that by 45. Okay. After you divide that by 45, you're going to have 74.867 and a whole bunch of decimals, right? So after you get that, I don't care who you're looking at, you're going to minus that whole number. So only thing that you want to keep is everything to the right of the decimal, okay? So you want to keep that everything to the right of the decimal. And then from there, you take 39 and you take the 0.867, all the decimals times 45. That's going to give you the weekly spread that a person was on. Okay. So if I've been alive for 23,000 days, 20,000, I divide that by 7. The results, divide that by 45 minus the whole number, and I get a decimal and I times that by 45. And that's going to give you the weekly plate that you're on currently. Okay. So the days that you're alive will give you to this exact day. All right. And there's an extra step that you can actually find out if it's your Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, but we're not going to go through all that. So during the week that Romell died, like I said, he was on death row. They injected him I don't know, probably 6, 7 times, and he would not die. But during 2020, December the 28th was the time period that he did eventually pass away during that time period. And I was kind of talking and speaking about, how the cards are kind of just all about timing, right? And during certain times, you can see certain things happen. Let me make sure I got that number right, actually, for him. I'm like, something not adding up. Let me go back. Me looking at the spread. 7, romell. So 06, 04, 19. Actually, Rod Martin is how you do it. Is the website that I usually use. But we're trying to get it to a certain point though. Yeah, so we're trying to do it on an exact date because he passed away before now. Rod Martin is how you do it if you're standing right here because it's going to give you to this particular date now. Okay, yeah, it is right. 23, 583, 1228, 5 by 7, 45. Oh, okay. I remember what it was. So let me go back. 39. Yes. Oh, I know what it is. So I used Robert Camp software earlier. Okay, so if you look at his spread here, there is a clue to what kind of happened. So he was 39, and he was actually. Let me go back to Robert's Camp software. I think he may have been in his Jupiter. Let me see. But if you just seen it, I just told you which cards are the death cards. If you know and Seven Thunders. I want you to share this tab. I want you to look at this tab here, and there is a clue to, as far as timing, what may have gave a clue as far as to the experience of death or to a close death situation, which Robert Camp software may have been off. I think I was looking at the yearly. Let me see how old he was too. That's how you calculate the weekly. But then again, I think I was supposed to look at the yearly. Let me see which one I was looking at. So Robert Camp software has him in a. Am I looking at the wrong spread? King of Diamonds had an Ace of Spades and a Jupiter's period. Like, but this isn't on 39. It's not having a Jupiter period here with the Ace of Spades. So that's why I don't use the software. Prime example. But even still, in his yearly spread, I'm just going ahead and say it. So, a clue to what could possibly been a clue to death or a close experience to death or transformation is the nine of spades, and at on in his weekly spread at that particular age. So, but let me make sure I'm on the right weekly spread. And we're going to go back and read the description for the nine of spades for that particular card. So King of Diamonds, 6'4", going back to Hills, and he would have been in a Jupiter period, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter. So that's the nine of spades. So still it's not wrong, but I'm trying to see why Robert Kemp has it as the ace of spades, Jupiter, which I didn't. When I posted on Instagram, I just did it from the standpoint of me knowing. King of Diamonds. This is Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Ace of Spades, and Saturn. 6, 4, 56. 6, 4, 56. 23, 5, 8, 3. Anybody see how Robert Kemp got that wrong? Y'all see here? He be irking you. Yeah. Damn, go. Have been in the cycle of being sick also with the ace in my own little circle of the ace of clubs and three of diamonds grandson. Oddly, they became ill after other than personal ace of spades. So the two death cards that we look at is the ace of spades and the nine of spades. A lot of times the nine of spades is going to be a clue of a cut or an accident. Here you can see it saying the nine of spades usually sits Uranus, Taurus. So that is going to be a clue to a cut. But let me make sure I did my math right. Make sure I'm on the right spread. So I was looking at the math that I did from earlier. So we're going to go back. So he was allowed 23,583 divided by 7. So you got 3,369 divided by 45. You're going to minus at 74 times 45. And you get 39. So we're on plate 39. That is correct. Somebody calling me. I'm on YouTube. So yeah, this is plate 39. So Robert Kemp actually kind of got it wrong. Let's go to, I'm gonna show y'all Robert Kemp software. And that's why I always say looking at the software sometimes isn't the best. And that's why I try to make sure that I calculate it for myself. So first we're gonna just go back a yearly to age 39 for him personally. Share this tab. Okay, so 39 is correct here. So he does have the nine of spades with it in Jupiter. But when I looked to say his yearly spread, it wasn't correct. So the nine of spades in Jupiter. So during this time period, you likely experience a major completion or ending of a line of work or livelihood. Okay. So as I said, he would have been in his Jupiter period at this particular time. And how do we know that? Because between 11/7 is going to start his Jupiter period, and he died December the 28th. So he was just about to go a into a Saturn period, actually. So he was just about to go in his Saturn period from this Jupiter period. So that was the ending of his livelihood, unfortunately. So during this period, you're likely to experience a major completion. So that is just the dark karma of just life for him at that particular time. It was my cousin said it one time, he's a queen of clubs. If it's your time to go, it's your time to go. It's just nothing that you can stop that. So anytime that I'm looking at a major accident or death or a close to death situation, even just being sick. Just because someone has a nine of spades, a lot of times I don't like telling people possibly or to scare people about death. That is not the verbiage that I like to use a lot of times. But it is something that is relative to the cards, to be honest. And I could have been looking at another spread on Instagram as well. I probably could have been looking at it, but that is something that I don't like to speak towards or kind of say. But as you heard me say about Raku earlier, that he is here to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if he was in the cars, he'll probably flat out tell you. You may want to watch out for a near death experience, right? At that particular time. And that's just the God honest truth as far as the experience in this card, even within the software. I do give readings as well. And that comes up because after I give you a reading or after I do a reading, I'm going to send you a snapshot of what the cards say. So anytime someone's reading this and they may see death, especially when they're looking at Ace of Spades, they always hit me back and question me. And I have to let them know, yeah, you want to be careful. There could be a near-death experience. I may not have communicated with you, or I may have brushed over it lightly. I actually have Travis. Oh man, that is a deep one. So within astrology, there is a Nasashtra that speaks about death as well, and it has the symbology of the elephant. And anybody that knows the elephant, they have this. They treat death in the same essence as humans. They bury their dead. Travis Scott actually has a Nasashtra in that same position. So when you hear about death that takes place at his concerts, that is speaking to his karma from a Vedic experience, and respectively respecting the dead and respectively burying the dead, that is his karma. So during that lawsuit, he had to pay for the funerals, for those who died at his concert. And a lot of people look at it like, oh, it's dark magic, that's dark art, but people are living out their karma, and that's why I look at astrology. It gives me that understanding that there's a higher power, there's a higher force that is taking place and that is directing us to do the things that we do, and for better or worse, it's a marriage of karma that we are tied to be honest. And that's how I get my comfort from the cards, and I can't really speak about why other people look at it or why you look at it, but that's why I look at it, because it gives me a sense of comfort, a sense of understanding that these things were supposed to happen. Like I said, from an early age, I had an Ace of Spades and Mercury. I used to question death. I used to question the purpose of life. I used to ask myself, like, why would God endure us with sickness? Why would he have people that are sick and that could die of cancer? Those were the questions that I had. And astrology and cardology answer those questions. This is just our karma. that we came back to deal with, on a spiritual level. So that is my understanding, and that is my experience with the Ace of Spades. And that at the age of 7 and 8 years old, I was asking these questions. And I say that because I have an Ace of Spades Mercury. The Ace of Spades is from 0 to 7 years, of 0 to 6 years of your life, is going to be your experience between of that first Mercury card whenever you're born. So that is where you're going to understand life, and gain a lot of understanding of what's taking place around you, and that those experiences are going to be seen from that Mercury card between those particular years. um, so he died within that nine of spades period. That was the ending. Like I said, whenever you're looking at death, you're looking at that experience. You're looking for ace of spades and a nine of spades. Okay. And I'll read on. So it seems as though you have been doing a certain occupation for a long time. Now it's time to move on to something new. Don't resist these endings, as they are positively leading you to a new, more exciting, more prosperous future, even if you get fired. So nines are always talking about endings. Okay. And actually, so within numerology, you have the Chaldean system. And what is the other system? Someone knows numerology system? That's it. Yeah, this numerology, right? You have the Chaldean system. And what is the other system of numerology? Anybody know? No. Pythagorean? No, no. It's an ancient word. It could be Pythagorean. One of them actually don't use the number nine. Do anybody know which one of them don't use the number nine, or they deleted the number nine from the system? It could be. It could be the Pythagorean system. But one of those systems actually deleted the number nine out of their system because of the power and because of how scared they were of that particular number. Okay. Because it speaks to endings, and it speaks to death, and just the nuance around that particular number. But let me look at his yearly to see here. So let's go to 2018. Even in the yearly, during that time period, he had an ace of spades. I'm trying to see where I get my screenshot from. It may have been from a 7 year, 7 week, but that doesn't matter. But that was just a prime example as far as how you can look at even incidences around death within the cards, and also sickness. So the ace of spades doesn't just recognize death, or just isn't looking at death. It can also be sickness as well. But and also, that is how you, if for those who didn't know, how you calculate your weekly card. That is how you calculate your weekly as well. So actually, I want to speak about one of my weeklies as well from last week. So last week, I was on my age spread of 35, which is actually the age that I'm on as well. I'm gonna let you know how my week went. So here I am, the three of diamonds. Okay. So I had an experience with, and I think it was a Queen of Clubs. Was last week a Queen of Clubs week, I believe. And as I was talking to the student that I'm working with, we were just talking about our experiences as far as the weekly cards as well. You know, um, if you're looking at your weekly card and it is the card of the week shows up in your week, let's say if it's a Queen of Clubs week, like I said, the weeks start out from the first week, the Ace of Hearts, onto now. Um, what week are we in? Are we in the Queen of Clubs week? Which week are we in? Anybody know? Yep, the Chaldean removed the number 9. Yeah. Which week are we in? Anybody know which weekly set we're in? Instagram, and back and forth between YouTube and Instagram. If you all have any questions, and I'm late to getting to you all. We're in the Jack of Clubs week. So the solar value is how you determine that week as well. So the solar value, there's also a calculation as well on how you calculate each day. But we'll get into that. 39? I mean, week 39, 38. And so, no, we're well away from the Queen of Clubs. We're in the Queen of Spades. The current week number of the year says it's 33. I'll go back and look after this solar value. It says it we're in week 33. But we started talking about, because I was talking about comparing the weeklies into the what week we are in, and finding that card in your spread. And that went into finding the week in my spread. So if we're in 33, we may have been talking about the 7 of spades, because the 7 of spades is in my week. And so that just showing up. And if you know the 7 of spades is talking about finances, talking about friendships, partnerships, business a lot of times as well. But then also that experience that you may be having that weekend can also be tied to the person that shows up. So you also want to look at that person and see if they show up in your weekly. So the Queen of Clubs had showed up in my weekly, and as you can see, they are right after that 5 of diamonds. So it was a 5 of diamonds here in Pluto, and then the Queen of Clubs is being what we call pushed by that 5 of diamonds, or it's in the moon card. You will get different terminology depending on if someone's been studying under Robert Camp or whoever they may be under, or as far as the verbiage. But so I always say this card pushes the other card. So in order to understand the results to understand the result card, you also want to understand that Pluto card. So for me, it was a five of diamonds, a fluctuation of finances. They always say fives, maybe you want to be aware of gambling. Also looking at possible money going out and the flow of money going out and money going in. So for me, that was a situation with my five of diamonds and also the queen of clubs, which is the homie. It's not a big deal. But that was just a perfect example I thought that I wanted to share on my experience on my weekly cards and why it's important to look at your weeks. Whenever you have an experience with a person that can be close to you or a personal experience, always look at that at your weekly card and see how they're showing up for you within that week as well. So outside of that is also why it's kind of important to learn how to calculate your weeks so you understand the experiences you are having with the people around you. I don't know how we calculate it. I just showed you how to calculate it. Oh, the week. Oh, well, the week in itself is calculated. Well, I showed you how to do both just now. So your weeks. Week one is the Ace of Hearts. That's the first week. Okay, and then you're just counting up from the solar value. I don't have the solar value saved. I can kind of save it now to my drive and then upload. So I will show you the solar value. Now, actually, let me show you all the solar value for if you may not know. And you can take a screenshot as well. But the weeks are based upon the solar value. If you didn't know, now you know. Let me save it. Okay. I actually have to screenshot it again and then save it. Just a second so I can. It's going to be a little darker because on here, just because I researched or was looking for the word March 22nd, 2020. I screenshot it so it can be at the top of my save area. So it just got done uploading. Okay. So this is the solar value, as you can see. One, it starts out with one, when the Ace of Hearts is the first week of the year, and it just goes down from there. So 1 through 13, and you times 2, 3, or 4 from there. Well, you plus 13, 26, or 39 from there. Actually, I'm sorry. I said 2, 3, or 4. So you add 13, 26, and 39. So in order for me to know the solar value for the two of hearts, I'm going to add 13. That's going to give me the two of spades. For me to know the solar value for the two of diamonds, I'm gonna add 13 to 15. That's gonna give me the two of diamonds. And for me to know the solar value for the two of spades, I'm gonna add 13 to 28. That's gonna give me the solar value for 41. So that's how you understand or know the solar values. You're just adding 13, 26, or 39 from 1 through 13. And as we know, we're adding 13 is the first after the hearts is the clubs. Okay, we know that from the order from the spiritual spread. So after that, 26 is going to be your diamonds. So I'm going to add 26 in order for me to know what a king of diamonds is. I'm going to add 26 to 13. That's going to give me the king of diamonds. So it's going to be 39. And oops, it actually missed. I think I screenshotted it wrong. Uh, so in order to know 13 plus 39 is going to give me 52. It's going to be the king of spades. So that's going to be your solar values. So the solar values is as simple as knowing its clubs, diamonds, spades, adding 13 from 1 through 13. Did I explain that good? Y'all understand? From the Gregorian is 34. Okay, it could be 34. But I know for sure I was today is Sunday, so it could be counting Sunday as the restart day as well. But yeah, that is your solar value card. So those are the solar values of the cards. I guess since we're here and I'm already explaining it, right? We can go into how you can actually find the date for each card from the calendar as well. Since we're already here. So let me make sure I know and remember it correctly. To make sure I do the calculations right. So how do you find the card of each month just based upon the day? So the thing that you got to remember is 55. It's the first number that we're going to start with, right? And you have January the 1st. So you have 55. You have January. So you're going to times 2. Make sure I calculate this right. Times 2, 2 times 1, 2 plus 1, 3, 55 minus 3 is 52, and 52 is a king of spades, right? So we're going to take February the 2nd. So February 2nd is the second month. So we're going to take 2, because February is the second month. 2 times 2 is 4. Plus 1, which is January the 1st, plus 1 equals 5. 55 minus 5 is 50. So the solar value of 50 is what? What's the solar value of 50? It's going to be the jack of spades. So we're on track so far. Let's keep going. Now let's add a random date in there. So let's do, what is April the 13th? So if we're doing this right, April is 1, 2, 3, the fourth month. So that's going to be 8. 8 times 2 is 16, plus April the 13th plus 13. So we're going to take 55 minus 29 is 26. April the 13th is the 8 of diamonds. Oh, we did it wrong. I think it's the opposite way. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. So I believe it's the date that you times twice. So let's do 13 times 2 plus January, February, March, April plus 4 is 30. So 55 minus 30 is 25. Still not giving me the right one. The diamonds is 34. We gotta get 34. April the 13th is the 8 of diamonds. Oh, I know what I did wrong. 4 times 2 is 8 plus. Yeah, I know what I did wrong. So 21. So 55 minus 21. 13 plus 8 plus 4 is 34. I'm tripping. I'm like, why is that not working right? So yeah, my bad, my bad. So that's 21. So it'd be 55. So 4. So let me tell you again. I'm sorry. So 4 times 2 is 8 plus 13. So 4 times 8, January, February, March, April. April is a 4 times 2 plus 13 is 21. So you take 55 minus 21. I don't know how I messed that up earlier. So the solar value of 34 is the 8 of diamonds. That makes sense? Everybody understand? So that is how you find the day for each particular card without being able or without even needing the calendar. So if I know the solar value of each card, I can calculate each particular day by hand. So if I know June is 6 times 2 is 12 plus 14 is 26, 55 minus 26 is 29. That should be the 3 of diamonds. So well, I know the solar value for the 3 of diamonds is 29. But if you look at it on here, 26, 29, the solar value for the 3 of diamonds is 29. So that's how you calculate each card without even having to know the day. Does that make sense? If you didn't know, now you know. So you can calculate any day of the calendar as long as you know the solar value. If you know the solar value, making sure you know that the base number is 55 times a month times 2 plus the number of the day minus 55 is going to give you the solar value for that particular number. And from that number, you know exactly what day we're on. Are y'all following me? Yeah, no, yeah, no. Are y'all there? Did y'all know that already? Okay. We'll do one more. Let's do one more. Um, let's do August the 3rd. So August, we know August is 8. So 8 times 2 is 16. Plus the third, which is 3, which is 19. So 55 minus 19 is 36. So August the 3rd should be solar value 36, which is a 10 of spades. So the 10 of spades, so August the 3rd, not 10 of spades. Let me go. What is 36? That's not 36. It's 36 to 10 space. Let me go back. I was sure. 8 times 2 plus 3, 5 minus 10. 10 of diamonds. I mean, I said king. 10 of spades. 10 of spades is 49. 10 of diamonds. I think my screen froze. So August the 3rd should be the 10 of diamonds. Oh man, I think my screen's froze. Is August the 3rd the 10 of diamonds? Well, let's go from this. So we know the 10 of hearts is going to be 10, right? So plus 10 is going to be 23. And then plus another 13 is going to be 23, 36. So August the 3rd, solar value is 36. So like I said, 23 plus another 13 is 36. So yes, that should be the 10 of diamonds. So that's how you calculate each particular card without even having to know the day. JLo say yes. Yep. So if you ever need to know the birthday of a card or a particular card, and all you have is their birthday, like all I remember is their birthday. Well, as long as you know the solar value, and you can get the solar value simply by adding 13 from ace through 13. So we always know the ace is one, two is two, three is three, and from there we know just add 13 to get each particular card. So that is the mathematics behind the calendar and the mathematics behind the solar value of 52 and how they get each particular card number for each particular one. So hopefully we're learning something tonight. So the as I said, we'll look at one. I don't really want to look at this dude Medici's card because I kind of felt like there was a whole thing behind him, and I think it was all fake. To be honest, it was like a fake story from my point of view. Just what I think between him and his wife, and him getting caught cheating. I said I wanted to look at the card, but then I kind of don't because I feel like it's all kind of fake, to be honest. But we will look at Sammy, the singer. He made a post earlier this week that he feel like death is around the corner for him. So I wanted to look and see why he stated that. Why did he make that particular statement? He is a nine of spades, and earlier from what I was explaining, and hopefully that you all got as far as the understanding of the nine of spades, is to understand endings in life, right? To understand that with every great beginning, something must end. Nines can be one of those cards that came to understand all. The king of spades actually transforms into the nine of clubs. The three of hearts transforms into the nine of spades. So they're here to understand the endings of just relationships overall, separation within relationships. So I wanted to look at his cards this week just to understand where he is just mentally and why he made the statement of like, death is around the corner for him, unfortunately. And I hate, when people say such things because the ace of spades actually teaches that we shouldn't speak about their death in such a way. It's something that should go unuttered, especially the ace of spades. They're probably not going to speak about it, may not say it. It can be a bone chilling type of conversation for them, a real, because goes into their understanding of life, something they came back to understand on the deeper level as well. But I want to look at his cards for the week just to see where he was mentally. So let's look up his birthday, Sammy the singer, and his weekly cards or his yearly cards. And why did he have that conversation about death? So he was born March the 1st, 1987. Acrobat is malfunctioning. I didn't even bring up Acrobat. I don't know what it's talking about. I need a new computer. So his birthday is March the 7th. Let me bring up his weekly. March the 1st, I'm sorry. And see why he had that conversation. Can y'all see all this stuff going on? Trying to tell me to create a temporary folder. Okay. All right, I got my computer back. March the 1st is a 9 of spades, as I said. So we're going to put 9 of spades. So anybody in my particular program, I will put I don't put people's names up here. He was born in 87. But let's calculate his weekly actually, because as we know, sometimes these programs be failing us. So days since March. So this is how I calculate someone's weekly. Days since March 1st, 1987. And like I said, I am Rod Martin is very good as far as calculating the number of days you've been alive. That's probably how I messed up the last guy, because I just took what Google gave me on that particular website, just off of Google. And we know, and I think they use Chat GTP or one of those, but that's probably how I got the dates wrong the last time. But I may have been looking on a 7-year spread. I don't know what I was looking at. So 14,000 days he's been alive. So again, how you calculate the weekly, you take how many days somebody's been alive, you divide that by 7, we get 2,007 days. You divide that by 45, you minus the whole number, which is 44 point whatever 60033 times 45. So his weekly plate is 27. He's a 9 of spades, and his weekly plate is 27. And what day was he born on? You'd in order to know the day someone was born on, you minus that 27 and you times that by 7. So today is a Sunday. He may have been born on a Sunday, but we'll see. 3/1/87. And there we go. So let's make sure. Get this up to date. I'm like, there we go. Let's do 2005. Like ace of spades in my face again. So he's in a 10 of clubs yearly period with the 8 of diamonds, 3 of spades. He is 38. Let's look at it from a standpoint of from the spread because I feel like you can look at it a lot better from here. So he's displacing the ace of diamonds. Vertically, he doesn't have an ace of spades. He is a nine of spades, so that's kind of natural. He's in the 10 of clubs, which is can be at the crossroads. 10 of clubs is also spiritual understanding as well because they displace a jack of spades. So whenever you're looking at a 10 of clubs, you're also looking at the experiences of a jack of spades, four of spades as well. Where's the ace of spades on this particular card is kind of behind him, so it's not directly in his spread. Let's look at his weekly spread. His weekly. Weekly, he's on a 27 spread. Let's make sure that matches up. And I got the correct calculations for that. So he's a nine of spades. If he's on a weekly spread, Mercury should be the queen of clubs. Mercury is the queen of clubs. So we got that right. So nine of spades, Mercury is a queen of clubs. He's in Neptune as well. So Mercury, queen of clubs. There's no vertical ace of spades here. But again, he is the nine of spades, So, but I don't see anything kind of pertaining to the ace of spades, and then he's also the nine of spades. So the nine of spades wouldn't pop up for him at all. But let's look at his planetary ruler over here. His environment to his planetary ruler is actually the ace of spades, and his at 38. On 38 queen of clubs for his weekly. His planetary ruler, January, February, March. When did I say his birthday was? Because Robert Camp, I don't believe Robert Camp software all the time. March the 1st. He is a nine of spades, Pisces. What did Robert Camp have his planetary ruler as? Okay, Jack of spades. So his planetary ruler card, environment card is the ace of spades. So that could be what it is from a planetary ruler standpoint, as far as questioning death and thinking about death. Let me go back to that spread. So at 27, his weekly card is his weekly spread. His jack of spades, he has jack of spades actually also displacing the three of diamonds, which is the Mercury card would be the jack of diamonds, which is displacing the ace of spades. Okay. But that jack of spades is also has an environment card of the ace of spades. So he spoke to the fact that he feels like death is around the corner, which is very interesting, I think, for him. So that's why I was just kind of wondering, why would he speak about death? Why would he be questioning death and the ending coming soon for him? From one standpoint, definitely, like I said, he's a nine of spades. So that is his life path, just overall. Let's look at what Robert Camp, like I said, don't believe me. So we're going to look at the basic meaning of the nine of spades from the Robert Camp point of view. I may post a book or what we'll do is look at what one of the books says as well about the non-space. A non-space can be a card of loss, disappointment. However, the true nature of the card reveals that its presence in your life for any period of time does not have to be disaster. It actually, the non-space represents making a completion of something, some importance, whether this is the end of certain occupation, way of life, or a way of being with your health and body would depend upon the position of the card and the circumstances in your life at the time. So paranoia, I think, sometimes happens with nines and aces around just thinking that things are at its worst. There's a ultimate ending. Is something is going to be at its worst type of place. But rest assured that some important aspect of your life is coming to an end when this potent card shows up. This is also a card, also one of the death cards. And indeed, when this card shows up, there will be a death in your life of some kind. So that's why I said, don't listen to me. These are what the experts saying as well, right? They speak about death when it comes to the ace of spades and nine of spades. We go through many, many deaths in the course of our lifetime, just like the snake shedding its skin, arrive at a new and better place each time we do so. Therefore, the nine of spades is not a card of fear, but instead a card to be welcomed. It also has the ability to clear away all the unwanted uselessness, debris in our life, but put us back on a new course where we are much more enlivened, excuse me, is satisfied. So it's not uncommon for a nine of spades to talk about death and the cycles of death, but that fear, that paranoia, I wanted to see where that was coming from him. As you can see, it could be coming from the ace of spades being the environment card. This year is when new beginnings in your health, work, or other important lifestyles area will bring in much in the way of blessings and happiness. This is one of the best influence under which to start a new business or job. However, the beginnings that you experience this year could be even deeper levels. Your lifestyle could be undergoing transformation. And when any time a card is in your environment, that means they are sitting in the place that your card usually sits. So that ace of spades is sitting where his planetary ruler usually sits, which is the jack of spades. Like I said, aces, nines, those cards, tens, queens, 10 of clubs, queen of spades, king of spades. When I think about paranoia, those are the cards that I'm thinking about. I know a lot of people would say, "Oh, what does that card say? What is that card, meaning, or what's the, vibration around that card?" And they'll put in what that card actually is. But for me, I don't use the cards in that sense. I just go about the karma of the card as far as its particular meaning. Like someone may look up book and what does the book say, and they'll say, "Oh, the book comes out as a five of diamonds." I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just go based upon the karma. Writing a book, and book or writing is a three of clubs. So for me, when someone talk about books or writing, where's the three of clubs in their life spread? I'm not looking for the word book itself and that particular card. But that has been a popular way as of lately that people look at. I don't look at names. Names for me don't hold as much weight as the actual karma of that card, right? Because nothing is going to outweigh you actually playing out the karma of that card. What's up, Menorah? Hey, how you doing? Hot mama. That is the actual karma of that particular card. So, so that's kind of why I wanted to see, why he speak about that. But as you can see, like I said, the nine of spades in itself, between the ace of spades and nine of spades, that talk around death is kind of usual around those cards. Fulfillment. I think I was on Raw Kuz live earlier, and someone had they had Saturn and Pisces, and he spoke about karma with that particular card. He spoke about what else did he kind of speak about? Them having to deal with going through life and having to get over the particular fact that things aren't the way that they used to be, right? Having to deal with reinventing themselves and dealing with the old ways, and having to have a grasp upon a grasp upon reality, right? So when I think of Saturn, I'm gonna give y'all a clue right now. But when I look at astrological placements, I see cards. I don't see planets, a lot of times. If I see a Mercury in Gemini, I see a three of hearts. I think I spoke about this last week. I see a Mercury in Pisces. I see an ace of spades. If I see a Mars in Cancer, or if I see Mars in Pisces, I see a either the eight of clubs or I see the four of clubs. Um, if I see Mars in Taurus, I see the king of diamonds. Okay. If I see Saturn in Pisces, I see the five of diamonds. So those are how I see the cards, and when people speak of it from an astrological point of view as well. But let me see. Are there any other questions that you all may have? We looked at Romell Broom. He was 39. That still is bugging me. I'm like, what was I looking at when I posted it on Instagram? I could have sworn that I was looking at he had the ace of spades in Jupiter at 39. Not, but then I also actually did it through the software. I'm like, which week was on? But I think that's all for tonight. Hopefully we all got to learn something tonight. Again, from time to time, day to day, I'll be looking and talking about popular news. So that is, I think, the best way to learn is by looking at what people are speaking about, what's popular, learning from different people's experiences outside of your own and proving it through the cards. Romell, he had the nine of spades. So, of course, we just spoke about that as far as endings, death, and those particular cycles. There was also a guy last year that I spoke about or looked up. He had the nine of spades and trans Pluto. And he actually had a surgery and died out of surgery with that nine of spades and trans Pluto. So I think on Instagram, I will give out, I just spoke about my placements in the astrological point of view in my stories, my own personal placements and my personal experiences around my houses and how it aligns to me. So I think after that, I'll let that, go out into the universe and let you all review that if that's something you're interested in, and reflect upon your own and just learn from my personal experiences, because the best teacher is going to be experiences, right? We all don't have the same experiences astrologically. So if I may have that experience on the high side, and I'm telling you the best, but you may have that experience on the low side, or I may have that experience on the low side. Like my Chiron in Cancer with Jupiter, that I ain't gonna lie, that I have a hard time with that. Of course, everyone says Chiron is tough, but the support that I need from my mother, the support I need from the feminine aspect that I may not have gotten, I'm not going to, and just that, and it's in the sixth place, in the sixth house, right? So my personal health and immune deficiency in certain aspects for myself can be seen in my Chiron in the sixth house, with Cancer, with Jupiter. So there was a time period where I didn't know that as far as my teachers, if I was really accepted, and Nina was coming down on me hard. A lot of people like, "Are you okay?" No, I was good, but in public point of view, she looked like she was coming down on me hard. That could have been kind of a Chiron moment as well. At that point, because at that time, I think um, I kind of, I ain't gonna say I didn't want to be on stage, but that was a bit of me questioning my how people looked at me, because of the criticism that I took on a public stage on Clubhouse. And that could have been Chiron conjuncting Jupiter and Cancer, right? From that particular aspect. So there's a lot of different aspects that we can look at and learn from each other. So that is the reason that I share, so you can understand my experiences, my aspects within astrology and within the cards, and learn from me. It's funny, I have my Chiron in Aries with Jupiter in the 11th house. So how do you take criticism from your teachers, right? And maybe about your how you personally look or how you personally come off, Um, when I think of that, first thing that came to my mind was body dysmorphia, being scared of being critiqued about how you look, or how you may feel, or how you may come off as well. Because especially when it comes to your personal outlook or your physical appearance, I definitely think of the Seven of Hearts. And why do I think of the Seven of Hearts? Let's go look at that. And another secret, I also look at these as houses as well. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, I also look at these as houses. So why is that? Seven of Hearts. For me, I'm gonna say this is in the first house. The Seven of Hearts sits in the first house of Mars. Okay, so, and like I said, that can be seen as the Aries, and as far as being similar to the Aries placement. Okay, so the Seven of Hearts is the way that you see yourself, the way that you feel about yourself. All right, it's going to be your personal outlook. How do you feel about critique? Seven of Hearts hate bad news. They have a nine of clubs and a nine of spades. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. They hate. They hate criticism. Seven of Hearts does not like criticism. A lot of times they would keep everything secret to themselves. They're going to keep it personal. You may not even know they're in a relationship. They want to keep their booze hidden as well. So you have nine of clubs, nine of spades, hospitals. Where's your experience with hospitals? Um, Seven of Hearts would be told, stay away from hospitals and being diagnosed. You will end up with a misdiagnosis if you go to hospitals with that Seven of Hearts and that nine of spades and Saturn. Or it can be a botched surgery, So you want to be careful about going under the knife as a Seven of Hearts and getting surgeries. She said Seven of Hearts, she did the criticizing. Wow. Yeah. When it comes to houses, this isn't popular opinion. This is personally coming from me. You can also look at house placements from here as well. And I don't want to go into that whole theory of me, how I came about that personally. But yeah, I can break down your particular houses through these cards as well. Um, and it's not going to be what people think it is. It's not going to come from your personal spread. I'm going to take the sign in the house and put that in here. Like if you're, like I just said, um, um, with Aries, Cat, Chiron, and you just have to understand it from a place where I'm speaking about personal appearance, how you look, in those particular placements because it deals with the body. So what else deals with the body and your personal outlook? So that's the first thing that comes to mind because you have to just know the karmas and how each particular karma is. And that what gives me that clue. So it's not nothing that is going to be kind of easily broken down or you're going to easily understand unless you know the karma of the cards and what they actually mean. But it's my own personal theory and how I just kind of look at it. But I'm out for the day. I appreciate you all's participation. Hopefully we learned something for today. We just looked at Sammy and Romell Broom and him surviving death row until COVID-19, right, which was a sickness that kind of took him out. And of course, he had the 9 of spades. On Instagram, I posted he had the ace of spades. I'm gonna go back and be like, where did I get that from? Because I know I didn't have the wrong person. Yeah, I may have looked at the 7-week period or a 7-day period for him. That may have been where I got it from. But I was I ain't gonna say half sleep. I was in 7 week or 7 year. I was in the bed when I really looked at it, to be honest. So, but I'll see you all next week. If you have questions, hit me up with questions. You know, I didn't even really have much to say, but I was still on here for 2 hours. But I want to at least make sure I have something relevant as far as conversation outside of what may be on gossip news channels. So I am following all the gossip news channels just for that reason, so I can have topics, the Shade Room and a couple of other rooms. Actually, let me see on here, make sure I didn't miss anything. Nah, it was really nothing I really missed. The whole Gunner situations and those things, those are things that I've already kind of really covered with the 10 of clubs and 3 of diamonds and their relationship. The 10 of clubs and I will just say it. So the whole thing with Gunner is a 3 of diamonds and I think what is his name? Young Thug. I think Young Thug is a 10 of clubs. His birthday is August the 16th. So if we was doing mathematically, so let's do it without even looking at the card. So August is 2, so that'd be 16. So that'd be 16 plus 16, so that'd be 32. So 55 minus 32 would be 23. So the solar value of 23, I know the solar value of 25 is a queen of clubs. So the solar value of 23 has to be the 10 of clubs. So yes, he's a 10 of clubs. So he's a 10 of clubs. So the reason that Gunna and Young Thug will not see eye to eye, no matter who else was being testified against, is they are Pluto to each other. So the 10 of clubs, Pluto is a 10 of diamonds. That's just going to be a toxic relationship. So it's easy to see that. But all right, so that's all for news for this week. Again, let me know what you all have next week. If you have any questions, if there's anybody that you want me to look up, and I will holler. See you later.